5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
This is the Culture Clash.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
And welcome everybody to the latest episode of Culture Clash here on the Fandom Podcast Network. I am your host for the evening, Kyle Wagner, and looking forward to having a very fun episode of Culture Clash because we've got something special planned. We are going to be getting our Culture Clash Guide to Time Travel, where we are going to spotlight a time travel movie every episode of Culture Clash for a while, because 2024 is the year of time travel here at the Fandom Podcast Network. And I can't think of two better companions to time travel with than my brother from another mother, the co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, Mr. Kevin Reitzel.
So, you know what's funny, Kyle, is we've chosen 2024 as the year of time travel for us here on Culture Clash and Fandom Podcast Network. And I put a post on Facebook a few days ago how I had never seen the movie A Boy and His Dog, which came out in like 72, 74, something like that, starring Don Johnson. And it apparently takes place in 2024. And even weirder, I went to the flea market yesterday and actually found a copy of that movie on DVD. I don't know what to say.
That's kismet. I always laugh. It reminds me of like Robotech or Transformers, when like in Transformers, the movie, it is the year 2005.
Like, this is what we're highlighting right here. Sound of Thunder. More on that.
And you know what? We have somebody to thank for that movie being our first time travel spotlight, because we can't time travel without our other time warp co-host, and she is of course the queen of movie foo, the one and only Lacee Adderhole.
Yay, Lacee! Hold yours up, hold yours up. Sound of thunder, sound of thunder. Do you guys want to talk about how that came about, or you want to wait later in the show for that?
We can kind of preview it a little bit. Why I think Sound of Thunder is kicking things off, because I kind of got the ball rolling about a month ago now, because I was traveling and I happened to stop at the Queen of Movie Foo's movie mansion, because you can see behind her
the movie mansion.
Kevin, I'm sorry, but I think she might put you to shame just a little bit.
Oh, I know she did. When I saw how much space, because remember, I went to her place before you did, and she was still working on the space. But I saw how much space she had, and I saw all the boxes that contain the loot of movies, and I was like, damn.
Yeah, exactly. But we were trying. She was kind enough to let me crash for the night for my travels, and we were trying to figure out a movie to watch, and we were going through stuff she hadn't seen yet, and I spotted A Sound of Thunder. And Lacee, you thought it was a different type of movie than what
I did. If you look at this, I mean, it's got a moth on the front, and traditionally, I mean, what do you think of when you think of a moth, right? You think the Mothman prophecies. You think maybe Silence of the Lambs has a moth on the front cover. I really did think it was a horror movie. I will follow an actor if there's an actor I like. I'll go and grab everything I can of theirs to kind of have their whole catalog. And I bought this because of Ed Burns, and it's one of those things. I have to be in a very specific frame of mind. I have to have like 3 people with me. I have to watch a Disney movie afterwards. If I watch a horror movie, like I can't. There's special conditions.
Yeah, you got to get stuff. You got to kind of like rinse stuff out.
Before the dreaming, right? And so when I said you picked that one out, and I was like, oh, that's a horror movie. I mean, it's cool. You were like, no, it's not. I was like, okay, well, it's 100%. Don't judge a movie by its cover.
Yeah, that is for sure. And we will get into that more a little later.
Yeah.
But of course, this is Culture Clash on the Fandom Podcast Network, the flagship show of the Fandom Podcast Network. Kevin, you realize we're almost going, I think it's year 7 now?
Yeah, we started around this time back in 2016. Yeah, dude.
I feel old. Time is flying, apparently. But we like I said, this is Culture Clash, the flagship show of the Fandom Podcast Network, and we've got a very fun episode planned today. We've got, of course, the latest in fandom news. We've got some fandom reviews, and of course, our guide to time travel spotlighting A Sound of Thunder. So, without further ado, let's talk about some things that are happening on the Fandom Podcast Network.
Shout out to Ken in the chat. What's up, buddy? Thank you for joining us. Much appreciated.
Shout out to Kenny. I saw he's been watching Reacher season 2. I need to watch yesterday's episode, which I know is the season finale. No spoilers out there.
I will be doing that right after we do this. My dad's really excited for it.
Well, right.
It's the first thing I'm going to watch now that I got my full setup done. That's the first. I just finally got like all the channels, all the streaming, everything, and Reacher's like the top of my list.
Nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
Nice. But Kevin, we got some things happening around the Fandom Podcast Network, including things that are coming soon and just arrived. And to kick things off, did we have a draft? Did a draft happen on the Fandom Podcast Network, Kevin?
We did, and we've had drafts before with sports ball football, as Lacey might say. But we decided to have a little fun with the hair metal genre, hair metal era of 1980s through early 90s metal music. And my new co-host of the Hair Metal Podcast, Mike, came up with an idea saying, well, why don't we take all of these, all these awesome rock stars and musicians, and let's hold our own draft and make our own supergroup out of it. And so we had a lot of fun with that. And I decided to take the ball and run with it, saying it has to take place in 1989, because that's when a lot of the old and the new were relevant of that era, and had a little fun with that. And had you guys, choose your writer backstage demands and what cause you're playing for and why you're bringing these 5 members together for a limited time. And we couldn't do it without you, Kyle, because you were our commissioner. You kept us in line and had a little fun with it at the time, too.
I think you still have some resentment at me, though, for rejecting your challenge.
Yeah, I threw a red flag challenge, which you allowed us to do, like they do in the NFL, because I challenged one of the picks, which I don't want to spoil here. But yes, and I got voted down. Thank you very much. And I am a little bitter about that.
That's okay, because I still think I might have the best band with the leftovers.
Kyle decided to pick his own band after we were done drafting, because there was 4 of us of the leftovers that were not drafted, and it was pretty darn good.
Well, we also have some other great things happening on the Fandom Podcast Network, including a show all 3 of us were just recording that will be coming out shortly on the Fandom Podcast Network. It's time. It's a new year, which means it's time for a new round of Time Warp. But it's a little change for Time Warp, because Time Warp is going monthly, Kevin.
Yes, it is going monthly. We've decided there's a lot of stuff to choose when it comes to talking about the movies and the other pop culture, music and such around 1984. And obviously 1984 is celebrating its 40th anniversary, and there is some iconic movies that came out in 1984. But we decided to go monthly because there's just a lot to cover, and we want to make sure that we give some love to some of the TV shows a little bit more, and a lot of the other pop culture surrounding the movies that we will also talk about.
Lacee's getting a shout out already.
Hello, that's my friend Tara.
Hi, Tara. Welcome to the chat. Much appreciated. Good to see you.
And of course, Kenny can never not have enough hair metal. So
that's right. I know, right? Yeah.
Also, Kevin, you got together with our good friend Lee, and I believe Lacee even snuck into that. She's all over the place on the Fandom Podcast Network. I think she's on more than you and I.
I only asked Lacee on for one particular reason, because I knew that she would cover every single special feature commentary ever done about Payback. And she did not disappoint.
There's something about watching a movie 5 times in one go that so you can get all the information. It's just how it works.
I put this on the docket because it's celebrating its 25th anniversary. It's my favorite Mel Gibson film, but more importantly, a very different ending came out with the director's cut about 6-7 years later, and we discussed the differences between the two. And it was a great discussion and one of my favorite movies. Totally rewatchable. Make sure you check it out. That was a great show. Lacee, thanks for being on that.
Absolutely.
Also, a project I am working on. It's still in development. Hopefully, by the end of this month, we'll be recording it. Godzilla Minus One was probably my favorite movie of last year. I'm a huge fan of giant robots and monsters. We're going to do a Couch Potato Theater remash of Pacific Rim because it's needed to be done. Plus, we're going to have a little conversation about Godzilla Minus One and the Monsterverse, because everything's kind of just coming together and having a moment right now with this genre, and obviously with Legendary, not only because we have Godzilla Minus One, The original Pacific Rim is a great film. Plus, we have everything going on in the MonsterVerse, including the outstanding show Monarch, which just wrapped up on Apple TV, which I'm really hoping gets a second season because the way it ended, it definitely gave us a cliffhanger. And then we're also maybe even talk a little bit about the upcoming Godzilla Kong film that is coming out, which might be a game changer for the MonsterVerse as well. But we're going to have some fun with Pacific Rim. We will try to prevent the apocalypse. Don't count on us. Cast around here.
Tara loves Pacific Rim. Yeah, I was fun rewatching it, Kyle. Got to throw it on the 3D glasses when I watched that one too. So
one of the better 3D movies made.
And it's got a fun commentary.
It does. Okay.
Yeah. It's Guillermo. I always
Guillermo.
My lips don't like the word. I love the word.
My wife can't pronounce his name, so yeah.
And then coming in February, we're going to continue Time Warp Part 2, covering the movies of February 1984. Kevin, I'm feeling the need to dance, but I have no rhythm, so I probably shouldn't.
Yeah, one of the highlighted films will be Footloose that we'll be talking about. One of my favorite films, and a film I have not seen yet that I'm looking forward to seeing is Blame It on Rio. And we'll cover, of course, some television and music as well.
And finally, upcoming soon, not another couch potato theater, but we're doing a little crossover with hair metal, Kevin, because we're covering one of the funnest hair metal films I think ever made.
Yeah, this actually was your idea a while ago, Kyle, and it's going to come to fruition here especially with Mike, my new co-host of Hair Metal. We're going to be doing a crossover. We're going to be doing a hair metal podcast on the music itself and the rock stars that were in the film playing rock stars and also helped contribute to the music. And then we're going to jump over to Couch Potato Theater and talk about the film in general and the history of it and have a little fun looking back when this movie came out.
It's going to be a good time. And just remember, at the end of those shows, both times I'm going to have to go somewhere and pee. So, but again, we are doing Culture Clash right now live here on the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel, and we will also be putting out the audio version of this podcast as well. But it's time to talk a little news. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado,
let's news.
Okay, it is time to talk some news, and the top story for me is something that I am very excited about and have enjoyed for a while. Godzilla -1. But this isn't just Godzilla -1. This is Godzilla -1 C. That is right. At the last week of January through February 1st, Godzilla -1 will be re-released will have a second release in theaters, a black and white version of Godzilla -1. When this run is done on February 2nd, the theatrical run, which has been extended for about 6 weeks more than they ever intended, will end for Godzilla -1 in theaters. Kevin, I'm going to try to find the time to go see this because seeing this movie in black and white just seems like it's going to give it something special.
Kyle, you don't need to try to do this. You have to do this. If this is your favorite movie of all last year, you have to experience this. I love the fact that they're doing this because this is a throwback to the old original Godzillas that we would watch in black and white. I watched everything in black and white when I was a kid because we didn't get a color television until like 85 or 87 or something like that. So everything was black and white to me. But this is something that is a cool event to take part of. And so make the time and see this. This movie was really, really good.
Now, Lacey, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this. Have you seen Godzilla -1?
I have not. I gotta be in the right mood to watch a Godzilla movie. And I haven't been yet. It's been crazy with the house and all that kind of stuff. So I will see it eventually. And now I've got a ginormous TV to watch it on, so I don't have to worry about missing it in the theaters. But it sounds really fun to go see the black and white. I might actually do that.
Yeah, and I will tell you this. This is more in the vein of going back to the original Godzilla Gojira film than it is any other Godzilla film out there. Maybe the closest one that next to it would be Shin Godzilla, which came out in 2016. But yeah, this movie is phenomenal, and they made it on basically a shoestring budget, and it shows. I can't wait for Oscar nominations.
This is a good example of a movie just hitting all the right moments and a success as well, because this movie has made a lot of money for the amount that it was made for. So
yeah.
Cool.
Can't wait for it to come on to home video too, so I can watch it whenever I feel like it. But in other news, guys, the Emmys happened, and first of all, I'm gonna say that say this: did we really truly care? Because it's been such a weird year for television because it was really affected by the strike. But I still think it's important to talk about what is being recognized out there. Kevin, what do you think?
I think that with the list of who won shows me it is a bunch of shows that I'm not watching. And not only that, but I don't have any inclination to want to watch them. I don't care how many Emmys this particular show or two in. And I don't care if you're going to shove it down my throat. I have nothing from what I've seen in any trailers that I want to see some of this stuff. And I don't think it's representing the right amount. I don't think it's representing the shows that we really watch and enjoy.
So for me, one of the shows that got a lot of outstanding Emmys was The Bear, and I actually ended up I did watch this on Hulu on some recommendations because I was also very curious. Everybody was talking about the amazing performance of Jeremy Allen White, who plays the lead role, and I actually really liked this show. I think this show was quite entertaining. Kind of another kind of kitchen kind of thing like Chef, but a little bit more intense. An amazing guest appearance by Jamie Lee Curtis in the second season. That was just outstanding. But Kevin, for the most part, I agree with you. I'm going to just run down just a few of the categories here real quick. Outstanding comedy series, The Bear. Outstanding lead actor in a comedy series, Jeremy Allen White, The Bear. Outstanding lead actress in a comedy series, Quinta Brunson, Abbott Elementary. Outstanding supporting in a comedy series, Eben Moss, Bacharach, The Bear. Outstanding supporting actress in a comedy series, Io, and I'm going to butcher this, and I'm sorry. It'd be The Bear. Outstanding drama series, Succession, and this is just the Succession category for the most part. Lead actor, Kieran Culkin, Succession. Lead actress, Sarah Snook, Succession. Outstanding supporting actor, Matthew McFadden, Succession. Here's the change-up. Outstanding supporting actress in a drama series, Jennifer Coolidge, The White Lotus. Succession. Okay. I just want to say, Succession ended this year, so I think this was kind of like the Emmys going, here, this is for all the success you had over your season. But yeah, this was very heavy loaded.
I tried watching Succession and I didn't find anyone likable in that show, and I can't relate to it at all. I just could not get into it. And I've seen like The Bear this, The Bear that. I've seen some trailers for it and stuff. I don't know if it should be compared to the movie Chef because I think I know they're both about people that make food. But to me, Chef had something just really kind of I think it speaks to a lot of people, but I just get stressed out about even beginning to think of watching The Bear. Tara liked it; she thought it was great.
Yeah, I think it's more like a Kitchen Confidential. It's got a little bit. It's
That's
got
probably a better comparison,
right? Maybe.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, but I love Jeremy Allen White. I mean, everybody's talking about how he looks just like Gene Wilder and he should have been Wonka, and everyone's talking about his Calvin Klein ad and all that kind of stuff. But he's just really talented. I mean, his performance on Shameless as Lip was, I mean, hands down my favorite character on the show. I mean, he's so good at he's a fast talker and he's got the best elocution for being that quickly paced. He's just really good at what he does.
Good to know.
I'll definitely be checking that out.
With Succession too, Kevin, I think that's kind of the point where the idea was you weren't supposed to like any of those people, and I don't really want to watch a show with a bunch of people I don't like. So that's just me. But however, the Emmys did have a very powerful and special moment. As in the memoriam section, which this year I didn't watch the Emmys live, but I did hunt this down and I found it on YouTube, and I suggest anybody does it. The number of icons in the television industry we lost this year is shocking. And obviously it was an amazing performance. And at the very end of the performance, they started playing I'll Be There for You, and ended with remembering Matthew Perry. And there wasn't a dry eye in the audience when this happened because nobody expected them to change up the music. And it was one of the better in memoriams I've watched on any of these type of shows in a long time. But again, I will tell anybody, yes, while maybe a little depressing, watch it because it reminds you of how many legends and people who just changed television in their lifespan. And
I gotta tell you, I teared up when I watched that memoriam. That was done really, really well. Charlie Puth singing his famous song. Forgetting the name of it now, but I first heard it at
And I'll See You Again.
Yeah, you first heard it at the end of was it Fast 7 after
Paul Walker.
Paul Walker passed away. Yeah. So that was nice that he was singing that there on stage, and then they transitioned into "I'll Be There for You." I thought that was really, really well done.
Yeah. Just a very powerful moment. Definitely, like I said, if you can find the link on YouTube, go check it out. But Kevin, we got to talk about something. We got to talk about somebody. I don't know if you want him to be your best friend or if you just worship at his altar, but Chad Stahelski, he's been handed the bag. He is in charge.
Chad Stahelski. Yep. Sorry,
he's not only in charge of John Wick, but he is now officially in charge of the Highlander franchise.
Chad is overseeing both these franchises right now. Even though Highlander reboot is not a franchise yet, he's planning on working on it to where it can be if it continues after this first film that we've been waiting for a very long time. And I've been a big proponent of Chad. I was first just excited that he was interested in Highlander and rebooting the franchise. I said, okay, well, that's great. In Highlander fandom community, we're a little, most Highlander fans are a little uneasy for obvious reasons because we've been let down by some so-called sequels. And, the idea of doing a reboot has been out there for 10 whatever something years, and stuff has kind of fallen by the wayside. But Stuntmaster, this is the article here on Variety, Stuntmaster and director Chad Stahelski will oversee the John Wick and Highlander franchise across the media for Lionsgate. The company announced Tuesday his next feature film will be directing the Highlander reboot, starring Henry Cavill as the immortal Scottish action hero. Under his expanded partnership with Lionsgate, Stahelski will have created oversight of Highlander and John Wick across film, TV, and multimedia platforms. And this is what's kind of important, too. His production company, 8711, co-founded with David Leitch, will design a comprehensive multi-platform content strategy for both franchises and guide the short and long-term creative direction, franchise strategy, and strategic growth of these two iconic properties to ensure that quality, tone, and vision remain constant. Stahelski will work with Thunder Road's Basil Iwanwick and Erica Lee on the John Wick franchise, and Neil H. Moritz and the estate of the late Peter S. Davis of Highlander, who was one of the original producers and creators of the original Highlander movies and, of course, TV series. So the fact that he is staying in touch with the estate of Peter Davis does mean a lot and go a lot that way. And there's a lot of jaded Highlander fans out there that are like, yeah, whatever, there can be only one. How is this former stuntman supposed to make me believe this is going to be good? I think with his insight in the way movies are made, and he's been behind the camera and in front of the camera for a long time now, over 30 years. He was the stuntman for Keanu Reeves during the Matrix trilogy. And even deeper cut, he stood in for Brandon Lee to reshoot some of the scenes after Brandon Lee's passing, because he knew Brandon Lee, and he had a similar build as him, and he was able to step in and shoot some of those scenes after he passed away, after they got the blessing from his fiance and his mom to continue with the film for Brandon Lee. But he has obviously become a good action director, and people go, well, Highlander's fantasy. Why would I want an action director? Well, he also does a good job of making sure as a director that what translates to the screen from the script and the story and the just the genre, he does that very, very well. And if you watch John Wick, it's not just an action film. Yes, it gets touted as one of the best action film franchises, but look at the lore, look at the characters and the acting in between all of the action, and how they've been able to set this world. So that actually is the more exciting point for me when it comes to wanting to see new Highlander, is how he's going to be able to do that. Not just the cool sword fights and stuff like that. I do want to see that, trust me. And his production company / stunt company is one of the most elite ones out there, and he has a lot of respect from his peers and actors as well.
And
Lacee, do you have any thoughts on this?
Just looking at John Wick alone, he's done martial arts, gun fu, dog fu. All the knife fights in the third film were fantastic. He did stair fu with the John Wick 4, like the stair steps and all that kind of stuff. I don't have any question that he's gonna come up with some really, really good sword fights and all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, I have faith in him. I like him, and I've done my research, guys, because I do a Highlander podcast. I don't know if you know that, here on the Fandom Podcast Network, called Bloody Kings. I listen to all of his podcasts that he's guested on. I've watched all of his interviews, and I've read all of his interviews. And the feeling that I get is this topic of Highlander is something that means something personal to him. That means that he will take care in making sure that it's represented well. It's not just a money grab. Yes, it's about making money, because that's what movies do, and that's why they're out there, but that he will care about the property. So I have faith.
And Henry Cavill is big super nerd too. Like he's really, if he jumps into something, it's not, he always makes sure that he's always trying to stick with the original materials. He's, that was one of the reasons he left Witcher, was because they kind of started taking left turns, and he was like, this is not, you're not paying tribute to the original material. That's why I signed on.
Yeah, exactly. So yay, Highlander. And it's going to go into production this year, apparently. So that's good news.
Fingers crossed. I want to see this happen. And I can tell you right now that Kevin and Lee will be all over any news breaking on this Highlanders movie with Henry Cavill and Chad directing, and they'll be all over it. So definitely check out Blood of Kings. But Kevin, I can't help but notice the shirt you're wearing.
I know what you're talking about.
Was that intentional?
Actually, no, it wasn't. I've been wanting to wear a different shirt during this here, Kyle, and decided to wear my Gunter t-shirt.
The reason why I ask is because the next thing we're going to talk about is Apple Vision Pro, which had a big announcement how it is Apple's kind of VR, very advanced. And when it does launch, it will include 150 3D films. But there's something else about Apple Vision Pro, guys. And I'm just going to say, does one of these things look like the other?
Well, I kept thinking what Lacey was saying. What if you have to wear glasses?
Mm-hmm.
I think knowing Apple, they will have plans for that. But this headset, I've been researching this and following this for a little bit since it was initially announced last year. It's very impressive. It's going to do full Dolby Atmos, full 8K. It's going to be pricey. That's going to be another thing. But
talk about the service, Kyle, of what they're providing and what we're going to see here.
Absolutely, they're going to be putting a whole library out through iTunes, designed with movies built and designed for this Apple Vision. Of course, you'll be able to watch regular films too, but they're doing 3D films. Disney's very much on board with this product. TV shows, everything. A lot of people are saying this is going to be kind of the Ready Player One start of that experience. But one of the things that grabbed me about it, Kevin, and I brought it to your attention, was the fact that they are launching 150 3D films on this service. And I know both you and I are still a fan of the 3D genre. We both still own 3D televisions. We still buy 3D physical media. And you said you had some thoughts on this as well.
Yeah. I see that cord sticking out of the back there, and that bothers me. The problem with putting something that immersive over your head in our times now, as opposed to in Ready Player One, when it takes place in 2040s or whatever it is getting comfortable with this around your head and enjoying the theater experience. Now, I have a 3D TV, and I can just take any of the 3D glasses and put them over my glasses. They fit that way. But I also have an actual pair of clip-on 3D glasses that I got through an optometrist friend of mine. And this is the Real D 3D, 3D basically, that all of these that you can watch in. And I'm just worried about comfort, to be perfectly honest here. And that price point is going to be a tough sell. I know that they're going to have 3D movies as kind of like a side thing you can do, but it's going to be interesting to see. I have never put on any of these glasses before. I've never done these virtual reality things before. I've never gone to those booths at conventions. I'm not there yet. I'm not ready to jump into that yet because it feels and looks cumbersome to me. And I need to be comfortable in my viewing of watching stuff.
I
Lacee?
tried an Oculus once. I put it on, and of course, I just got LASIK surgery. So the problem with LASIK is that you have you need cheaters more quickly, right? Because I'm 50. If I was 30 when I got it, it'd be fine,
Right.
no problem. But now I'm 50, so I need cheaters. And you put an Oculus on, it's designed for someone who's got 20/20 vision.
Exactly. And
so
yeah, I'm 53 going on 54, and I have glasses. I have the bifocal ones with the no lines. And so I have to like look up through here and stuff. And you're right. They're all designed for people that have perfect vision. As long as I'm able to put something over my glasses and it doesn't hurt me, like right. now, I think, was there something about prescription versions of these, Kyle?
Well, I was going to say they need to have like a tuner on the side, like you would use on a microscope.
Yeah, or what you do when you look through binoculars,
Yeah. Maybe that.
So there has been a aspect change in the technology of VR, and it started with PlayStation 5's VR, PSVR 2. Now, while the actual product itself is not selling well, more because of a lack of game library, PSVR 2, where before you had a camera that you kind of had to look at, with PSVR 2, they've designed it to where the cameras are actually in the unit, and they're right on they see your eyes, and they see the movement of your eyes, and the unit is designed to fit over glasses. And so they are getting that. And Apple, if anybody's going to perfect that technology, it's Apple. But again, the big thing, I'm curious if this is not like a power cord or a storage unit that she's hooked into or something like that. They haven't shown enough of it yet. It's out there, but we haven't really gotten to see it demoed.
Man, remember in the 70s when when your mom would be like, "Don't sit too close to the TV," and now we're literally like wearing them on our face.
Yeah.
That's gonna give you bad eyesight. No, we're literally like sticking it to our heads.
We're one step closer to going on a key hunt, Kevin.
Oh, right, yeah.
But with that, guys, we're gonna wrap up our news section, but we aren't done yet because we have seen a few things. So it's time to buy it, stream it, or unsee it.
Kyle, I have one that I forgot to tell you guys I was going to put in the notes that I did want to take a minute to discuss. There is a movie that I have seen that is worth mentioning.
Okay, go ahead.
So I saw Leonardo DiCaprio's Killers of the Flower Moon finally because it dropped on Apple Plus. If you have Apple Plus, it's now free. You don't have to download it or purchase it or whatever. And I did not want to go to the theater to watch it because it's like 3.5 hours long or something like that. And so I had planned on watching it in 2 parts at home because I was very curious about the topic that it touches on, the true story that it touches on. And I'm a Scorsese fan, and I'm also a fan of the whole, like, the cast that was in there. Of course, we had Robert De Niro and just great cast there. And for those of you who don't know, it's about an Indian reservation in the 20s in Oklahoma that strikes oil, and thus reaping the rewards of the money. And they start, the Indian reservation people living there start to reap those rewards, and they're living nicely. They have nice homes, nice cars. But unfortunately, bunch of basically greedy white people try to systematically cull the culture so they can have the oil for themselves.
No, not the greedy white people. They'd never do that.
Yes, culling in ways of not just straight up killing them, which they did, but also marrying into their families, having children with them so that they can be on wills and trusts and eventually take parts of that land over, while maybe secretly poisoning people. I mean, it was a very sad topic, but I found it fascinating. I ended up watching the whole movie in one sitting. But Kyle, this brings up an interesting topic that we have discussed before, is that there's certain movies that are good to watch because, by the way, they got the entire Martin Scorsese actually got the cooperation of the Indian community to make this and make it on the same reservation that these events happened. And so it's all filmed on that location, which is gives it an extra realism. And but the movie falls under a certain category, Kyle, where it says buy it, stream it, or unsee it. It also falls under the buy it, stream it, unsee it, never watch it again, but you should watch it once.
So it falls under the Schindler's List category.
I actually find Schindler's List rewatchable every now and then because of performances and because of what it is. And it's a good reminder to kind of, but I see your point, Kyle, but yes, I do not see myself rewatching this film. Lacey.
Yeah. Schindler's List. There's a list of movies that I don't ever intend to watch because I know the horrible things happened. I don't intend to repeat them, but I can't watch the bad things happen to people.
And when I tried to watch Succession because no one was likable, no one is likable in this movie with the exception of the main female lead, who I'm forgetting her name, but she's the Indian woman that Leonardo marries. She is fantastic in this, but it is depressing. It is sad, based completely on a true story, and wonderful performances. But like I said, man, it's not like, oh, hey, you guys want to hang out and watch Killers of the Flower Moon for 3.5 hours? It is depressing. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Tara says, being from Oklahoma, it's a great adaptation of an awesome book. I actually was curious about that, Tara. I was curious what people thought of it compared to the book. Because from what I read, after Scorsese read the book, he had to make this movie, and he went all out and getting it done. And you could tell costumes are great. Just the period of being set where it was fantastic. I mean, I just wanted to mention that.
Well, on to another thing, Kevin, that you have seen, because Jason Statham is at it again. So without further ado, it's spoiler alert time.
Thank you, Jeff. Lily Gladstone. Yes, appreciate Jeff over there checking us out.
And
yes,
she won the Golden Globe like a week ago.
Yeah,
she did. Okay, great.
And
she's one of the favorites for the Oscar this year.
Yeah,
and a shout out to Jeff Sloboda, of course, our friend over there at the MCU Bleeding Edge show on YouTube. Go check that out. But Kevin, we're adding to our Letterboxd list, and the reason why we're talking about Letterboxd because I have started a Letterboxd account, and after your amazing year of movies last year, you inspired me. So I am on Letterboxd now, and I am keeping track of the movies I have seen as well. So everything by stream it and see it. If it's a movie, it's going up on Letterboxd for whoever has seen it. Lacey's
got it. Kyle's got it. I've got it. Lacey, how many movies did you watch last year? Did you keep track?
I don't keep track of movies that I've watched out of the house. I keep track of movies that I watch like on Blu-ray and DVD.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's a whole different story. So
well, I kept track of both last year, and I saw 408 films. I don't think I'm going to meet that number this year, but I love keeping track of the films with Letterboxd because I've forgotten a lot of these, and I like to see my viewing pattern as well.
And now we can actually tell people what our Letterboxd handles are, so that they can look at our profiles. You can make friends on Letterboxd now.
I'm Spartan_Phoenix on Letterboxd, so make sure you check it out.
Right on. I'm Lacey Pants. That's me. Hello.
I am KSport16 on Letterboxd, I believe is what it's set up as. I just set it up.
Nice.
But Kevin, I didn't know Jason Statham did a movie about beekeeping. I'm curious. Did you learn how to get the proper honey from him?
Sorry.
Yeah, I know what I did there.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing that is guaranteed when it comes to January, and that is you're going to get action films because they're not trying to go for any movie awards, but you're going to get your action films and maybe romantic comedies and stuff like that. And Jason Statham, in my opinion, did not disappoint one bit. I was looking forward to this film. I liked the trailer, so I went to the theater to go see it. And I guess you could let me give the IMDb lowdown here. It says one man's brutal campaign for vengeance takes on national stakes after he is revealed to be a former operative of a powerful clandestine organization known as Beekeepers, right? So kind of think of it as like a good revenge actioneer slash, political intrigue. And Jason Statham is Jason Statham, don't get me wrong. And his character, even though he is part of this beekeeper thing, he actually takes care of bees. And he knows how to do it. And someone in his life, unfortunately, kills themselves because they got taken advantage of and got fleeced of all their money. You know, all of these online companies that are very clever and preying on people, a lot of elderly people as well, like saying, hey, your computer's infected and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Well, love about this is that your villain is not your typical villain. It's not your like ex-CIA villain or ex-terrorist villain or, throw in Russian villain here or, Middle East villain here. The villain here are the people that are leasing people of their financial bank accounts and also trusts that they do for charity and stuff like that. And there's these centers that prey on people and put viruses on your computer and learn how to get your information and stuff like that. And I love the fact that that's the enemy and that the enemy's power goes right up to the top. And he basically is just a one-man army of like burning down this, taking care of that. And you get to see Josh Hutcherson as a very slimy 20-something-year-old. I am rich off you-know-what in my parents' money, and he's perfect in this.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so, Kevin, I need to ask you, because let's be honest, Mr. Statham's last couple of films have not been that great.
Okay.
Yeah, Expendables 4 sucked ass, and I said that before on it.
and we also had Meg 2 The Trench.
Meg 2 The Trench, yes, was not good. Yeah, I did not care for that one as well. This is back to Jason Statham. This is, if you want to see him doing some kicking ass and doing it well in a smart script, a smart actioneer, and villains that you haven't really seen before, but you are like, oh my God, these freaking call centers, I'm going to kill you. Yes. You're gonna like this film. It's well done. It's only like an hour. What was it? How long is this movie? It's not that. It didn't feel that long anyway. Hour and 45 minutes, including credits. Highly recommended. Check it out. And you also get Jeremy Irons. He's in there as well. Felicia Rashad is in there. Minnie Driver makes a moment in there as well. But Josh Hutcherson steals it away as the slimy villain in this. I love it.
I'm very excited about this. I have always wanted to be a beekeeper. I've always wanted to have bees. Very excited. I have bee lip balm. I'm very happy about it. And Tara said that she's a hobbyist beekeeper who's won awards. What is that about? How this conversation?
Two things. I would love to hear what Tara thinks about this movie if she sees it and how he showcases his beekeeping and harvesting of the honey. But okay. Kyle, do you remember my biggest gripe about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's career?
That doesn't take chances. But I have some news about that too. I was gonna.
Okay. My biggest pet peeve with him is he doesn't have an original franchise character he's made several movies on. He's always jumped onto sequels or jumped onto stuff that's already happened. He had his best chance with the movie The Rundown. He can still return to that character, but he has Lacey.
So good. Rundown is so good.
Exactly.
Yes.
He does not take chances when it comes to trying to come up with an original franchise character that's likable. And don't even argue with me. The Black Adam was not likable guy. I'm telling that right now. But
it's not meant to be.
This movie here, the beekeeper, the character that Jason plays, I see a franchise character here. I hope they make another one.
Cool. What about Jumanji? I thought that could.
No, because that was Robin Williams to start with.
Robin Williams started that. That was not an original franchise.
Sure, but he's running the leading the show on it.
Yeah,
right?
But again, it's not something he generally
Okay.
And that's
From the ground up.
that is and he is not the only star in that. That is a
Ensemble. Yeah.
ensemble. Yes. Yeah.
Interesting thing, just a side note real quick on The Rock, is he just recently signed a movie deal with A24, who is known for making some different types of films. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that. Maybe he's going to start taking some chances with his career and doing something different. We'll see what happens there. But Lacee, I want to talk about a movie you've seen because I'm actually very curious about this film. And that film is Wonka, with Timothy Chalamet taking over the Wonka role.
Yes.
I am a huge fan of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I grew up on that movie. Gene Wilder is amazing as Willy Wonka.
Mhm.
Don't even talk to me about Johnny Depp. I don't want to hear about it. Don't even talk to me. But I am hearing interesting things about Timothy Chalamet's portrayal of Willy Wonka and how he's kind of found his own niche with it.
Yes, I agree. I loved Gene Wilder and his portrayal, and then we all thought that it might be something kind of crazy and wild when Tim Burton and Johnny Depp did it. But see, the thing is that like 5 years before Wonka, before Johnny Depp's version, I wanted Johnny Depp and Tim Burton to get a divorce like 5 years before his attempt came out.
You and I have always agreed on that.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%.
I mean, anyway, that's a different story. But it was I was so disappointed with how that happened, and I was really, really nervous about watching Wonka because I love Chalamet. He's been in some amazing films. I mean, Call Me by Your Name and Beautiful Boy and all these. He's just fantastic. And I will always go see his movies opening weekend. I bought tickets for Wonka opening weekend, but did not go because I was terrified that it was just going to be just awful because of what Johnny Depp did to it. And so when I finally saw it about a week ago, I loved it. It was so good. It was, I mean, heartwarming and heartfelt, and all the characters were well put together. It had the feel of the original film. It had a very interesting plot line. The whole cast was phenomenal. Between Chalamet and
Can I ask about one of the cast members because it intrigues me the most, and I really want to see it just for this alone.
Okay.
Hugh Grant is Oompa Loompa.
Yes, he stole every little scene he was in, and it was adorable. Sorry, I was trying to read the post. Hugh Grant, he was on Graham Norton, and he said that recently he's realized that he's in the freaks, villains and freaks portion of his career. Because that's what gets offered now.
If you watch the Guy Ritchie films, yes.
Right. He said perverts and freaks is what he gets offered now. And he said it's long past my romantic comedy days and whatnot. But he was so funny, and that was another reason that I kind of.
And he was a villain in the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, but quite a charming one though. I mean, he still has that kind of the backhanded kind of So, but yeah, he was fantastic. The girl who played Noodle, her name's Kala Lane, and then you've got Sally Hawkins and Keegan-Michael Key and Olivia Colman, Rowan Atkinson. I mean, Jim Carter. Like, there's so many people in this movie that and that you're expecting to do interesting things, and they all kind of play against type. Well, most of them do. Olivia Colman was phenomenal.
Okay, I have to stop you, Lacee, because Olivia Colman is a worldwide treasure at this point.
I mean, this was like the closest thing I can say is that it was on par with Carol Burnett in Annie, with Carol Burnett's Miss Hannigan. Like, that's the role. Like, it was that caliber of just delicious evil, but she was just so good. It felt like sort of like one part Mary Poppins and one part Annie and one part, like, it just had that overall good, sweet, innocent viewing experience.
I got a question for you, Lacee.
Yeah.
I'm going to see this. I'm going to wait for streaming because I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to wait for streaming. I've already made up my mind on that.
Okay.
But for you, is this a buy it? Like, because you and I are both physical media nerds.
Sure.
Stream it, wait for stream it, or unsee it.
It's go back to the movie theater, watch it a couple more times, then stream it until you can purchase it.
So that's a buy it for you, definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
and real quick, I just wanted to mention that for me, this Beekeeper movie is a buy it for me. I didn't say that at the end there, and I will definitely be streaming it, but this is a buy it for me.
I will also say about Wonka, the color palette alone and the musical numbers are worth seeing it on the big screen.
Gotcha. That's a good point. Okay.
If you are a musical person, and it is very just hugely colorful. So there's a lot of sing and dance, and little Timmy Tim does his thing. He sings, he dances. He's the whole triple threat. Keegan-Michael Key. I mean, everyone. It's just so good.
I love that Keegan's getting these singing roles now. With
Well, it started with that Apple TV show he did.
Yeah.
So
Barra, what's it called?
no, she started with an S.
I don't know. I just got Apple TV Plus yesterday.
Yeah.
So I haven't watched.
You're in for some treats. We'll talk later. We'll talk later, Lacey. But Kevin, speaking of streaming things and search things, Amazon Original Role Play with our good friend Kaylee.
Yes. So I saw a trailer for this movie, and I was kind of curious about it because I love Kaylee Cuoco, and I love seeing her. I watched part of was it Flight Attendant? I didn't watch all of it, but I watched most of it. Enjoyed it for what it was. But I obviously became a big fan of hers when she originally did 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Daughter with John Ritter before he passed away. And I followed her obviously through Big Bang Theory, and I've seen some other films that she's been in. And I'm a Kaylee fan. And so when I saw this trailer for this movie called Role Play, I was just like, wait a minute. And I was like, this looks kind of fun. So I was interested in a kind of a fun film, kind of curious where they were going to go with it. Basically, and you've heard this story before, a former hit person assassin wants to live a normal life, gets married, have kids. You've heard that before. We've seen that before. And I can tell you that I've just recently seen that before because Mark Wahlberg did the exact same movie on Apple Plus, I think it is, with The Family Plan, where he was a former assassin, blah, blah, blah. And his new family gets threatened by this. But Lacey, Hallmark films, we know Hallmark films are basically the same movies to a certain degree. And you know that they're going to end up in the end and share a dry kiss, basically, right?
Sure.
But it's not about how you get from A to B. It's what happens in between is the reason why we're watching it. We want to know why this firefighter takes care of kittens and then meets a school teacher. We know they're going to get at the end, but we want to see how it happens.
And want to see Brandon Routh does it at least twice.
Exactly. I'm glad you got that reference. Thank you so much.
Yes. 9 lives, 9 kittens, baby.
There you go. So I had a feeling this was going to be kind of a cookie cutter plot, but what won me over in this movie was how they did it, and I love the cast in this film too, and I thought that Kaylee, it was a nice departure from what she's normally done before, if that makes sense. And David Oyelowo, who plays he plays her husband in this, and he's fantastic. He's the one that doesn't know what's going on, and you get some wonderful supporting characters in there, and trying to get out of and clean up her past and the connections to what she's trying to get out of it. I found very entertaining, and David being the one that's like being brought into this and wondering like what the hell's going on. And the reason why it's called Role Play is because they're trying to spice up their life, and they decided to do that classic thing that married couples do where they pretend to meet at a bar and pretend to be different people. So they dress a little differently and pretend to meet for the first time. But unfortunately, they run into Bill Nye at this bar and things go wrong.
Oh my God. The minute you throw in Bill Nye into anything, things are going to go out.
Bill Nye was great. He came in and hit it and kicked it. It was great. But I enjoyed this film. Turn your brain off. Enjoy it. It's definitely a stream it. And I don't think it'll hit physical media, but if it does, I will buy it.
Is it more Mr. and Mrs. Smith meets Red or Mr. and Mrs. Smith meets Long Kiss Goodnight?
There's no memory loss in this, so I would say it's kind of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but it's more Mrs. Smith. The one that does all of the action and the killing and stuff like that. So
come on, Lacee, if you need Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the Donald Glover remake has just debuted on Amazon.
I can't wait.
It's coming out in a couple of weeks. You can watch the trailer for it. Yes.
Yeah, I will watch Donald Glover read a phone book. That he is so talented and so and I'm not a music person, but I mean I love his music. He's so all the he got all the talent. Like how did leave some for the rest of us? Jeff
in the chat says that's actually how Kyle and I meet to have drink.
Yeah, it must be another Kyle there. But what's kind of funny here, Lacee, is we look at this movie as we're getting ready to close out, buy it, stream it, and see it. Mm-hmm. But our lead actor in this ties into what we're about to do. And you had recognized that, and we're going to talk about that because it is time, ladies and gentlemen. Just hold on, because I got to hit a button.
Wait, Kyle. You're hitting the wrong soundbite.
I understand all that, but that frequency, that was me trying to find the right frequency to get on this because we are dealing with sounds here. Because it is time to start. We are opening and writing the guide to time travel via Culture Clash style, and we're doing that by spotlighting time travel movies for the next several months, culminating where we will be not only covering some very interesting time travel films throughout Culture Clash, but we will be doing some of the bigger time travel films on Couch Potato Theater. But we are kicking things off, and what inspired all this, as we talked about earlier at the top of the show, was me introducing Lacee to the film A Sound of Thunder. And there was discussion of how we were going to talk about this on Culture Clash, whether we were going to save it from Oblivion, but then we got into time travel, and Kevin got excited because he loves time travel, and we all love time travel around here, whether it's via a hot tub time machine or a DeLorean or a blue police box. And we decided, you know what? There's a lot of time travel we haven't talked about here on the Fandom Podcast Network, so we are writing our guide. And this week, to open up our guide, we are doing our time travel spotlight, Sound of Thunder, released in 2005. Now, as we talked about, Lacee, you hadn't seen this. You watched it for the first time once I convinced you it wasn't a scary film.
Right.
I just want first, real quick, for you to give us your initial reaction to this film.
I got to tell you, well, you were there. I was so excited after I saw it. I was like, wow, I am really glad that you picked this movie because it really would have sat on the shelf until I was down to like kind of the dregs of what, that shelf. Like I said, I do often follow one actor, and I'll buy everything in their catalog just so that I can have, their complete catalog. And it had been sitting there. I think I bought this movie 12, 15 years ago. Like I bought it a while back. I bought it on DVD. I don't even know if there's a Blu-ray available.
I'd be kind of curious to find out what inspired you to buy it, but then let it sit on the table.
Ed Burns. I loved Ed Burns. He's been in so many. His first trilogy from what is it? Moonlight Brothers McMullen, Moonlight and Valentino. No, that's not it. Moonlight and Valentino was somebody else. Anyway, Ed Burns had been in several movies that I really enjoyed, and so I just started kind of every time I saw him in a movie, I'd pick it up, and then finally with IMDb, I went on IMDb one day and checked to see what I didn't have, like what I hadn't seen of his. I did that. I do that with several different actors. I've got everything Denzel's done, and Keanu Reeves, Michael Keaton. Those are some of my, so I'll just literally anything that they are in, I'll buy it. I'll watch it. But the horror movies usually do sit on the shelf until I have somebody to watch it with.
Okay. All right.
So
now, even more amazing is I actually have found a movie that neither Kevin or Lacey had seen, which that's a miracle upon itself.
Yeah, like stump one of us. Okay.
And by the way, real quick, when you guys search for it, it's not Sound of Thunder, it's A Sound of Thunder. So just remember that.
Now, Kevin, I am curious to your initial reactions to this film.
Well, first of all, I bought the DVD, but I actually, when I bought it on eBay, I didn't pay attention enough to the description, and I bought only the DVD originally because I didn't realize it didn't come with the case. And Lacey, I'm not having that. I got to have the case. Yep. So I bought one with the case. But keep in mind, I spent maybe $6 between the two of these to have them both. So now I've got the DVD and the other DVD. So I actually did enjoy it. I love how the computer graphics are a little dated on it, but I liked some of the performances. I was looking at like the concept of it, because whenever I look into a time travel movie, I wonder like how well did they handle the time travel? How well, why did they time travel? I think why they time traveled is I found one of the most fascinating about it because it's kind of basically a time travel safari. Mm-hmm. And I like the different people that went on it because there's always like that one jerk that wants to shoot everything. I thought that was kind of funny. And I like the way they kind of describe the technology as well. But I do want to say this now before I forget, guys. That is the worst poster to showcase this type of movie. That I understand the butterfly effect now that Kyle and Lacey have explained it to me, but that is a horrible F- cover for a movie. And I'm going to guarantee you that that's one of the biggest reasons why this movie failed. I don't care if it's of a Ray Bradbury story. You got to get something better on there. And Kyle, if you can go to that one slide there that shows the alternate cover of this movie in other DVD forms, that should have been the original. Show us some freaking dinosaurs, guys. Show.
It's a spoiler.
What's that?
Also, the cover itself is a spoiler. I mean,
yeah,
it's a spoiler for the reason the thing. I mean, I know the concept of the butterfly effect, but as you're watching the movie,
I get that, but this is the reason why you didn't watch it either, Lacey, because you thought it was a horror movie. Totally misrepresented on here. Kyle, you got that slide up there showing?
Actually, I don't see. For some reason, that slide is not showing up here. So
hold on, I'll get it. It's right here. It's part of the main thing here. So
okay.
Let me get it there. So you see the regular one, and the one off to the right is a European release. Look at that. There's like dinosaurs coming out at you. That's the one that should have been sold from the beginning right there. Yep. But anyway, I'll get off that platform there. I did enjoy it. I loved some of the moments with the characters. I thought overall it was a good concept, but finding out that this movie got its budget slashed completely is probably a huge reason why it didn't do well. And I know you're going to go into that, right, Kyle?
Yeah, we're going to go into that. First, let me just give everybody out there who may have not seen this movie a quick synopsis. A Sound of Thunder is a 2005 American science fiction thriller film directed by Peter Hymas and is starring Edward Burns, Catherine McCormick, and Ben Kingsley. It is a co-production film between the United Kingdom, the United States, Germany, and the Czech Republic. The film is based on the 1952 short story of the same name by Ray Bradbury. It is about time tourists who accidentally interfere too much with the past, completely altering the present. It failed at the box office, earning $11 million against a production budget of $80 million. It received a ton of negative reviews from critics. But I want to talk about this real quick before I get into the kind of strange history of this, because the concept.
Sorry, I just want to mention something about the director when you have a moment, Kyle.
Okay, go ahead.
Peter
Hyams, has quite an interesting, and a lot of fans like his work. He's also jumped into the time travel movies, Kyle, because he directed Time Cop and one of my favorite films from the early 80s, Outland. He did Relic. He did 2010, the year we make contact. he has had an extensive career of really cool movies. Recently, of course, he's done The Musketeer, Presidio, did an Amazing Stories episode, Narrow Margin, one of my favorite films he's done as well. Star Chamber, we covered that on A Time Warp. He directed that one. Capricorn 1. So he has his niche, and I just got to give Peter Hyams credit here.
No, without a doubt, he definitely has had success. But one of the things that is really interesting with this movie too is, and the importance of time travel in it, is that we talked a little bit earlier about the butterfly effect. We'll get into that, but how they picked a precise moment in time with the safari, and it was interesting because it is a hunt for a dinosaur, and it's at a moment in time when this dinosaur is about to be killed anyway. And what this movie plays on is some very interesting time travel tropes involving that. But I also want to talk a little bit about the history of this movie, because this movie has a very interesting and intriguing history, because Breck Eisner was attached to direct this movie at one stage. The film, which was actually going to be a short on the classic Ray Bradbury theater show, was picked up to take as a movie because people liked the story so much. But the film was originally going to be directed by Rennie Harlin, starring Pierce Brosnan in the main role. It was to be shot in Montreal, Canada. The budget was meant to be $55 million. Filming was to have begun in Montreal on April 16th, 2001. Bronson wanted a rewrite of the script. However, the filmmakers did not have the time to rewrite and finish the film by July 1st, which is when Hollywood writers and actors were poised to go on strike. Matters were complicated when Canadian producer Nicholas Claremont died in April 2001. By November 2001, Harlan had been replaced by Peter Hyams, and he's quoted saying, "I thought it was a really intriguing story. It was a story about greed and the arrogance of having this technology and using it in this way. Still, I don't think it's a preachy movie. It's a thriller, but unlike the short story, the movie is also meant to scare. Hopefully, it gets pretty creepy." Bronson left the project as well and was replaced by Edward Burns. After Franchise Pictures went bankrupt during post-production, the remaining backers provided only $30 million to work with out of the $80 million originally allocated. Pre-visualization software was used heavily on this film, and you can see it when you watch it in the effects. This movie's effects are very green screen, without a doubt. But guys, this film had such a very bizarre. I mean, this film was supposed to again be out like early 2002 and not coming out until 2005. And I remember when I remember it came out. I actually saw it in the movie theater, and because I was intrigued. I've always been a fan of that Ray Bradbury short story, so I was very intrigued. And I'm also an Edward Burns fan, and I found this movie enjoyable. It has its flaws. The effects even then weren't the best, but I have a soft spot for this movie. I think this is kind of what falls into a cult classic kind of film for me, guys.
And I will say the special features are reminiscent of like 7 to 8 years ago sci-fi channel like Sanctuary or one of those, maybe like Primeval or Primeval New World. They have that, it's that level, so it doesn't pull you out of it completely. It is still a watchable and enjoyable flick. I also really loved the fact that this was based on the fact that in 2055, when this takes place, all animals are gone. Like, they have hunted animals to extinction, all animals. And what Edward Burns is doing, he's running these tours, but his payment, his kind of side hustle is trying to get like DNA samples and stuff like that, so he can recreate some of these animals to help the actual environment. So it's kind of got an environmental kind of feel to it as well, which I thought was pretty interesting.
It's got a great cast in it as well, Kevin. I mean, you got obviously Edward Burns, you've got Ben Kingsley, you've got Catherine McCormick, you have a very young David Oyelowo in this, which Lacey pointed out to me. I had forgotten he was in this.
Is it Oyelowo? Is that how you say it, Lacey?
It's basically O yellow O. So, but you gotta connect that W and the O at the end. So it's Oyelowo.
Oyelowo. Okay.
It's yellow between two O's.
Kyle, speaking of cast, I was kind of crushing on Jenny Crass, played by Jamia Rupert. Is that how you say her name? Jemima Ruber.
Yeah.
Jemima.
Jemima. Is that what it is? I didn't want to say it that way because I wasn't sure. But anyway, I liked her in this. I think it was good. I was kind of crushing on her too, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree, and this is a totally different movie if Pierce Brosnan stays in the lead role.
Oh, okay. Can we talk about that for a second? Okay. I think this is a bigger hit if Pierce Brosnan is in it, and honestly, I know Rennie Harlan gets crap sometimes for some of the films he's done, but let's look at this. Cliffhanger, Die Hard 2, Adventures of Ford Fairlane, Deep Blue Sea, Long Kiss Goodnight, A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. And I know that he did, what was it?
Driven.
What?
Driven.
Yes.
Driven. So
But
good.
he also did the guilty pleasure movie of mine because he was married to Gina Davis and he did the pirate movie. What was it called?
Oh, Cutthroat Island.
Cutthroat Island, yeah.
Cutthroat Island, yes. I just think this movie could have been bigger and probably better if they had a better budget.
What I will say this though, a very underrated, fun performance from the great Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But let's talk about look what Lacee produced.
Cutthroat Island. I got my copy over here.
It's the Hermione bag. She just opens it up and a movie comes out. She did this to you on Time Warp too.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the time travel method used here, which was advanced technology where they find a fixed point in time, in this case, the death of a Allosaurus, so that people can go hunting, but they know they're killing something that is already going to die. What did you guys think of the method of time travel that they were using, Kevin?
I thought that was clever. I always look for when time travel movies try to give you the way that they're doing it and how they're doing it. If it's kind of original and entertaining, and I like the concept of that, and so yeah, that I was all for that.
I like to think about the fact. Well, first of all, the way they do it, it almost looks like they're getting ready to sit down in a
roller
like
coaster or something,
like an old roller coaster hook, set up with like the overhead handlebar things, whatever. But I like to think about the first couple of times they did this. They went back in time and just like sat in the bushes waiting to like find something that was about to die. like that's the part that makes me go, oh man, I wonder how many times it took for them to go back, like hiding out in the bushes to make absolutely certain that they could find this, and then they go back and kill the same one over and over again. But there is a weird plot hole though. They go back every time they go back, they go to the same spot with different people, right? These people pay millions of dollars to go and do this thing. And when they showed the people coming out of the thing and doing their thing and then going away, they never run into the same people again. Right? They don't run into all the other people. But at the very end, we did give a spoiler warning, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the whole concept is that in order to fix the problem, he has to go back and stop them from doing something. So he goes back and he sees the other people and he sees his other self.
Right.
It's interesting because they should be seeing the same like every group that's come before them, which is an
those aren't questions you're supposed to ask in time travel.
Interesting little nugget. I didn't realize that until right now while I was thinking about it. It wasn't even. It's been like 6 weeks, so this movie keeps you thinking the more you think about it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the time travel trope used here, which is the butterfly effect. Which, if you're not familiar with the butterfly effect, the basic is if you travel back in time and you kill. In this case, it was he stepped on a butterfly, killed the butterfly before it's time to die. So he changed something in evolution that goes wrong. And there's a great episode of The Simpsons, one of the Treehouse of Horror episodes, where Homer he kills something and he keeps going back and killing more things or doing something different to try to set it right. And he's just making it crazier and crazier as he goes. Hence
I like how you can go back to a Simpsons episode, or as my wife always reminds me, a South Park episode that can reference anything that's ever been done ever.
Simpsons, South Park, Futurama. Those are the three.
That
Yep.
that is
Well,
my-
wait. What was the third one, Lacey?
Futurama.
Futurama. Yes.
Yeah.
So this being our first time, Kevin, you had to get a little bit of an explanation of the butterfly effect. So what do you think of this time travel trope?
Yeah, so I never saw the Ashton Kutcher movie, Butterfly Effect. I never did see that, but it's a trope that's been used without saying that it's the butterfly effect. So that's how I was familiar. When you explained it, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I've seen that before, obviously, and that's probably the main threat and trope to use is like if you go back and change something, then you change everything in the future. And depending on who you believe in either Back to the Future 2 or Avengers Endgame, and it usually ends out bad. But yeah, I liked the trope because it's a reliable one, and I like that. Like I said, when it comes to Hallmark films, you just want to see how it's executed, how they get from point A to point B. So yes, we're going to throw this trope that is a trope for a reason, but let's see how you use it. And I did like the idea and how they used it.
Lacey, what about you with the trope that they use?
Yeah, it's always interesting because with time travel movies, you got three options. You got we have to go back and change this thing. We have to go back to see what happened and not change anything, or oh crap, what happened? I think we're back in time. Those are kind of the three options. Like, what do we do now? Or let's change things on purpose, or let's not change things on purpose. Those are kind of the three options. I prefer to see the ones where they try their best not to do something and then something inevitably goes wrong. Those are just kind of the most fun ones for me. Until you throw the comedies in there. Those are always just, give me a Bill and Ted or a Hot Tub Time Machine any day. So, but this was great. I love this one.
And I just want to say too, when it comes to arguing like, oh, that can never happen, shut up. It's a time travel movie. You're supposed to just go with it and have fun with it. Who cares about whether that in science that wouldn't work or that would never happen? I don't care.
I have a response for that. Anytime I love a movie, I'm talking about a movie and somebody says, and I had this happen at a meetup once. It was a Star Trek meetup because I'm a big nerd. And this guy across the table from me who I didn't know and didn't ask was basically saying that, the red matter, that's not how it would have done. I was like, well, I'm more of a phi enjoyment person as opposed to the psi enjoyment. Like I'm there for the phi, not the psi.
I like that. I'm going to use that. That's good.
Right. If you want to investigate the psi of it all, that's great. I love that you are that invested. I don't have a science background. I'm there for the phi.
There you go. Well said. Well said, Lacey. I appreciate that.
Speaking of the science and the phi of it, let's talk about how time travel went in this movie. And ladies and gentlemen, it did not go well because you ended up with this as kind of your main creature antagonist.
Lizard monkeys. Yay.
Yeah. Crocodile. But what's interesting in Lacey,
I wonder, is it too much to ask for a toy and a plush version of that?
I would totally cuddle a gorilla dial animal. Yeah. The gorilla dial.
Well, that is a crazy looking creature. I love it.
What's interesting about this film is, as Lacey said earlier, in their timeline, they've killed all the animals. Yet by stepping on the butterfly that happens in this film, animals and these weird hybrids of animals rule the planet. The planet is covered in vegetation. You not only have this, which is kind of the main threat through most of the film, but you got a couple other interesting creatures. You got this bat, you got this eel type creature, and I couldn't find a picture of it, but even humans are devolving into some kind of animalistic thing because you see the last time the wave of time kind of hits through, and I think that time wave is why he was able to go back and stop himself.
Yeah.
Lacey, I think that's the key there.
I'll take it. That works.
With the time wave, humanity is even devolving into this more animalistic kind of thing. So yeah, one guy stepping off the solid light bridge onto the ground really screwed things up, Kevin.
Yeah, that I like that you had that bridge that the time safari participants come out on, and they're not supposed to deviate from that. That's your protection zone right there. And yes, I liked how things went wrong when you stepped off that thing. And I just want to mention too is yes, the effects in this are dated, and there's effects done before this that are much better. Obviously, Jurassic Park and stuff like that. But I thought that the story overall and the character performances in this, and I got to be honest with you, lead actor
Ed Burns.
Ed Burns, yeah. I think he's kind of like he plays similar characters in his films, but there's just something about the way he does it that makes you root for him and like him. And I liked the character that he did, especially the fact that, Lacey, you touched on it earlier, how he's hitting at it with the science fiction and learning and trying to save and all that kind of stuff angle. And I like that his character was like that.
He's definitely an eco-friendly character.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can I just call out Tara? That's awesome. The little flip books. Do you remember those flip books with the top, the middle, and the bottom animals? Like,
yeah,
that's perfect.
Yeah, that's how they made that creature that like ape/lizard creature. Baboonadile. Yes, that's what it is. That's the name, Baboonadile.
There we go. So I've got to ask you guys, as we are using these spotlights to write our guide to time travel for Culture Clash, is A Sound of Thunder a good example of a time travel film?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I dig
Agreed.
it. I'm in.
Yeah. Okay. One last thing, just from you.
Just real quick. I've always wondered about going back in time and doing a safari with dinosaurs, because ever since I've loved dinosaurs and time travel for me became a thing, I always wanted to do that.
You got to watch Primeval and Primeval New World. Just saying.
BBC show, very fun. But Kevin, too, real quick. I'm saving this movie from oblivion too. So.
I'm sorry, you tailed off there. I didn't hear that. What?
I said I'm going to make sure I save this movie from oblivion as well.
Explain that, because not everyone knows that segment that we have on Culture Clash.
We have a Culture Clash segment. We haven't addressed it in a while, but it is called Save from Oblivion, and we find a movie that's kind of on the fringes, maybe hasn't been talked about for a long time. People kind of know it, but it kind of seems like it's lost in the ether a little bit. So we find one of those types of movies. Ones we've done in the past include Driven, the Sylvester Stallone movie Driven. And we decide, do we just let it go off into the ether, never to be heard from again, or do we throw it a lifeline and do we pull it back? And with this movie, this is a pull it back for me. I remember I like this movie in the theater, and I've seen it a few times, and rewatching it with Lacey and seeing her discover it for the first time and knowing you discovered it for the first time. It's got a uniqueness to it. It's got a weird place in Hollywood history because of what happened with it. And I agree with Lacey too. The effects very much remind me of like early versions of the TV show Sanctuary and its effects with all the green screen. But it's an entertaining movie at the end of the day.
Yeah. Lacey, did you freeze up or are you just still? I think she froze up. Yeah.
We lost her.
Lacey will come back on a second, but Kyle, I just want to mention that, when you were talking about it, I'm like, really? I never heard of this film. Time travel? Yes. Wow. Good cast. So I guess the decision is, would I save it from oblivion? Will it go over here on one of these shelves, or will it go back to the thrift store or something like that? Lacey, we're trying to figure out would you save this from oblivion? Would you put it on that shelf behind you?
Well, I would put it 5 shelves down under S for sound. But yes.
Not A Sound of Thunder?
No. A, N, and E are ignored in the alphabet as per words of.
Just want to double check. Yeah. I definitely save it from Oblivion. By the way, Kyle, you don't want to save the Tom Cruise movie Oblivion from Oblivion? I throw it out at you and you're like,
it's already in Oblivion. There's no saving something that's already existing in Oblivion.
Have you rewatched it? I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying it's a guy. I like the movie, but yeah, it's Oblivion. You can't save Oblivion from Oblivion.
Says who? It's a perfect candidate for that segment. It's called Oblivion.
Well, I'm just gonna say this. I'm not gonna say the movie yet, but we do have a movie planned for a Save from Oblivion that I think is going to be a perfect candidate for it.
I want to give a shout out to Tara here. She says, I'm very interested in watching this movie. And she says, I would donate $6 to the charity of the endangered movie. I like that.
so with that, that's going to kind of wrap up our first entry into the guide of time travel. But we already have decided what our second time travel movie will be, ladies and gentlemen. It's one of my all-time favorite books, and it was released in a movie that some people have a mixed reaction to, but I enjoy it. It stars Paul Walker, Gerard Butler. It's Timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Directed by Richard Donner.
Yes.
And it's got Sutherland in it. Kiefer Sutherland's brother, Rossif, is in it.
I also, Billy Connolly, who I am a fan of, who plays Paul Walker's dad in this film, and I thoroughly enjoy it. So we're going from dinosaurs to medieval times, ladies and gentlemen.
And can I just share something that I picked up off eBay recently? I have to share it because I didn't know this movie. I like Herbie movies. I don't know if you know this or not. And I found out that Ash from Evil Dead starred in a Herbie movie called The Love Bug. Disney's The Love Bug, starring Bruce Campbell himself and Alexandra Wentworth, directed by Peyton Reed. Kyle, do you remember who Peyton Reed? Ant-Man, and also directed some Mandalorian episode as well.
And Down with Love. That's awesome because he did a 60s movie in the early 2000s, and he used only technology that was available in the 60s to film the film.
Love that. That's a good movie, by the way. And this is a VHS copy, Kyle, because they did not make DVD copies of this. So I'll have to be watching this.
It's a good thing I've sent you a couple of VHS over the last couple of years. Players.
Yeah, I got a few.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching Culture Clash live on the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel. And yes, Bubba Hobug.
Bubba Hobug. Well said, Tara.
Extra props for that. There we go. We need the Love Bug on 4K. UHD Blu-ray. Get it on Disney. Come on. It's got to get on the Plus, if nothing else. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. But we have been watching Culture Clash here live on the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel, or you've been joined us by listening to the audio version of this podcast. Either way, we hope you enjoyed what we've been feeding you with this episode of Culture Clash, the guide to time travel. We'll be spotlighting some amazing films and some crazy films and films about motorcycles traveling through time. Maybe at some point, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting time machine devices out there, Kevin.
Yes, there is. That's one of the more interesting things that we'll dive into is how they traveled back in time. What device was used?
Yeah, because there's some interesting ones. But as always, you can join us on the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel to watch any episode of Culture Clash Live that we've done since we opened up the channel. And of course, too, you can also find the audio versions of all our shows on our master feed, fpnet.podbean.com, or you can find all our podcasts on any of your major podcast catchers out there, from iTunes to Spotify to Amazon to iHeartRadio. So many great ones out there. You can find our Facebook page where we try to keep you updated with all things Fandom Podcast Network. You can email us directly at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at Fandom Podcast Network or on Twitter/X at FanPod Network. I'm Kyle. You can follow me on Twitter/X at AKyleW or on Instagram and Threads at AKyleFandom. Kevin, where can people find you on the socials?
Spartan_Phoenix on X, Instagram, and Threads, and also now on Letterboxd. I just want to give a shout out to Tara, Ken, and of course Jeff that came in and said hi to us. Thank you guys for watching and contributing to the discussion. Much appreciated.
Thank you guys so much. Lacee, of course, I know you don't have a big social media presence. You kind of hang out around with us crazy people here at the Fandom Podcast Network.
I know, but I am on Facebook and I am on Letterboxd, so that's one where you can, you can find me. I haven't done terribly many, but I have put, probably a dozen or so actual reviews on my films that I've watched. Things like Jack Brooks, Monster Slayer. That's right.
Yeah, I do all movies, whether it's theatrical or streaming or whatever, or DVDs. But I always rate them. I don't really give any written reviews, but I definitely rate them. The 1 to 5 stars.
Got it. But see, now when you do a 5-star system, do you do based on the value of the film, or do you do it based on watchability, like rewatchability?
That's all contributed to my score. Yes.
Gotcha. See, mine is entirely based on rewatchability. I can see something that is an Oscar winner. It's amazing. It's this, fantastic drama, and it's going to be a 1 because I'll never watch it again. But it's going to be a 5 if it has the word like mega in the title, or if there's like a man and beast combination that happened through science accidentally. It's going to be a 5.
Well, Lacee, there's only one film with mega in it that matters, and that's Mega Force. So
it's true. Ace says so. He's right over there.
Yeah. If Ace Hunter said so, it is a fact. Again, guys, thank you for watching. You're watching the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel. This has been the latest episode of Culture Clash. Guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, too, as we like to close out here, remember, most importantly, not only respect each other, but enjoy your fandom. With that, guys,
thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
Yep, it's time to get out of here.